I was working for Nike. I was a manager, and some things was going a bit sour. I was about a week out from getting married, and I quit. I was like, this ain't, and I don't quit. I'm one of them. We ride or die. Like you have to fire me. Like I don't quit.
Yeah.
But I quit, and I was like, I'm about to get married. Like I gotta figure out how to provide for my family.
Right.
So, and my wife at the time, she was freaking out. How you gonna do that? She knew the story. She knew what was going on. So, like, I needed to go.
Right.
Um, they had a great floor to teach in over here by Universal Studios. So I put my resume together, got on my best shirt and tie, walked up in there like I'm a teach because I know how to mentor people.
Right.
I've been doing that in church for forever. Like I can do this. I'll learn how to teach, not a big deal. And I walked in, it was so many people, I was so scared. And I walked up to the only person that they have nobody at their table, and I sat down with them, gave him my resume, and it was a Southern Belle, Dr. Cecile Diaz. She, thank God for her. Um, I sat down with her. She was opening up a new school, a K-8 school, right from where I live at,
Okay.
and which I didn't know either. Like I just sat down with her. I had no idea. And she was like, well, we're opening up a new school on such and such road. And I was like, I live on that road. And she was like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. She's looking over my resume. And she's like, you're not quite what we're looking for. Like, we need some seasoned teachers, new school. I was like, no problem. And she was like, I have nobody here. Do you want to practice interviewing? I was like, sure. Hour and a half later, she offered me a job. She offered me a job as a teacher, as a fifth
Beautiful.
grade teacher. Yeah. So I went on my honeymoon, and the day I got back, it was pre-planning. We're in. I'm trying to figure out how to be a teacher, and I tell
Right.
these jokes. So my degree is marriage and family couples therapy with an endorsement in school counseling. I was working on those 2 degrees when I started teaching. I had
Got
a
it.
year done. I had 2 more years left to go. Um, and I say that to say I know how to develop relationships. So that was my mindset when I went into the classroom. I was like, I got to get these parents and these kids to love me because I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and I need them to give me some grace and some
There you go.
forgiveness. And
Right.
that's exactly what they did. My kids would run through a wall for me, but I was still learning how to teach, right? I know how to run groups. That was part of my systems training and
You're right.
counseling therapies and modalities and things. Like I know how to do that. I can run a group, but I didn't know how to teach the content. Like I was having to figure that out. So there was this one time I taught all subjects. There was this one time, RJ. There was one time I taught this math lesson. I was doing the intro. I was up at the board working it out. Boom,
Yeah.
asking questions. Yeah, go write that up on the board. Bam, bam, boom, boom. I'm thinking I'm like I'm killing this lesson. A little girl in the background, Jasmine. Jasmine raised her hand. A little Latina. She said, "Mr. Cook, that's wrong." I said, what are you talking about? And she said she worked the whole problem. And I stepped back from the board, and I looked at the board, and I looked at her. I looked back at the board, and I said, Jasmine, you know what? I'm dead wrong right now. I done taught y'all a whole lesson the wrong way. I said, it's lunch. Y'all gonna go to lunch. Mr. Cook's gonna get right. We gonna figure this thing
Figure
out.
this
I
out.
had so
Yeah.
many times like that where I'm learning on the fly, but I will say this, my kids was always tops in our district for their FCAT scores. I ended up moving down to third grade, did that for a few years before I became a school counselor. But my whole thing was education was a front for me to be able to mentor students. And just like you experienced, I tended to get the black and brown students more often than our other teachers, and I would get the problem kids more often than our other teachers because I knew how to work with those kids. One, because my race plays a part.
Yes,
Two,
it does.
because I'm a strong male presence. And three, I actually turned out to be a pretty decent teacher. So it was like this triple threat for them. And my last couple of years at Bella Lago, I started a mentoring program, and they literally, I'll never forget this. Shaquila Henderson, shout out to her. She's actually a principal out in Orlando at a private school. She said, Cook, when I became a school counselor, first thing she tasked me with, I need you to take the baddest kids up in middle school and get them right. And I looked at her like, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know what I'm doing.
You know what you're
Whatever,
dealing
we're
with.
gonna figure it out. Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. So all but one of my boys, I had 15 consistently every year. Once a class left, I added on boys because I high needs. I felt like I couldn't do more than that, although I wanted to. But all of them, we reduced their referrals down to one on the whole year, where they had like one a week.
Ooh, that's
We
significant.
Yeah, we increased their attendance. 85% of the school year they were in school. None of them had less than a C. And as I said, only one kid ended up getting kicked out. And a few of them I keep up with. They're doing well. They have families now. They're professionals, things like that. But RJ, it was just as simple as I taught them manners. And we had conversations. We used Why Try curriculum. And it just has those tough conversations about life, and how to problem solve and critically think and how to deal with conflict. And I legitimately, they walked around with the check sheet. Did they hold a door? Did they say yes ma'am, no ma'am? Were they in dress code? Were they polite to fellow students when a student maybe tried them? How did they respond? Like, I had all these little markers of like just manners, and that's all it was. That's all I did with them. And then every month we had like pizza and just had guys chat. And then once a quarter, I take them to some special place. The end of the year, we went paintballing, which was funny because you get the hardest boys out there get hit by a paintball and they turn in to little babies
Like,
crying and stuff. Like, oh yeah. It was my hardest kids broke when we were out on the paintball field. But that was what I use education for. I use it as a front to mentor both male and female students, because we just talked about this. The other side is, do you have a positive male role model in your life that can teach you this side of the world? So
absolutely.
I did that, and I stayed because I said this to you, like, I'm that positive representation, right? Like, I got locks. I'm a little swaggy. I still speak your terminology, but then I can flip it and I can be super intelligent. I can speak in this circle and that circle. And it's like, wait a minute, Cook looks like what I see in my hood or looks like what I see on TV, but he's here, like in the flesh, like
he's
at
real.
Our school. Yeah, like this is real. Like, I can come up to Cook and be like, yo, this is what I got going on in my life. Well, father sold crack. I ran with the dope boys when I was in middle and high school. They lived in my neighborhood. I never got into drugs, but those are the fellas that looked out for me. So I'm gonna ride with them because they protected me, right? So we can have those conversations. Oh, such and such tried me. Well, let's talk about some of the laws of the street. If you approach it this way, here's the results. If you approach it this way, here's the results. Which one gets you more respect at the end of the day? Like, you having these conversations, right? Because I'm gonna keep it real with you. I obviously made it out. I didn't go into prison, which I'm supposed to be in prison. At the time, I'm married. I got 3 kids. I'm associate pastoring at a church. Like, I'm being a successful, positive role model in the community. So I did the work. So if you're interested in knowing how to do the work, then we can have those conversations, right? So I stayed in that area because that's our most vulnerable area in Osceola County, mainly because I felt like my higher purpose was to be a positive male role model, where if mentoring was a door open for a student and they wanted that, then I would gladly provide that for them. So I didn't have to join a boys club or boys and girls club or YMCA or any special mentoring program. I became a teacher so that I could mentor students and figure out how to teach so that I didn't screw their academics up. That was how that's why I went into the field.